My name is Chantal Mudahogora, and I'm a genocide survivor.
When I get older, I will be stronger. They'll call me freedom, just like a waving flag.
So, what were the months like after the genocide ended?
I actually always tell people that the period after the genocide was actually harder than the genocide itself, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because during the genocide, I don't think we had any emotions. I think we were just ready to die. Nobody. I don't think I had any fear or any anger or anything. We're just prepared to die. But then um, you realize that you're not dead. You have to learn how to live again. So I think we trained our minds to die. So we had to retrain our minds to live. But yet, you did not have anything to live on. The country was in rubble. It was chaos. We came back in town. First of all, our home had been destroyed because when we left the same day, we left in the morning around 10ish, and then in the afternoon we learned from people who did not leave the area that a bomb landed in our living room. So when we came back, all the rain and the sun has been just our couches and everything else was ruined. Besides, they rooted the homes, so we came back with nothing. Um, no stores, no food, no drinking water, no basic infrastructure, no nothing. So, but yet we had the whole country was full of bodies, dead bodies, and and dogs, because all the dogs became wild dogs. They would eat people. They were running all over the place, chasing us to want to eat us live. So the country was very, very chaotic. And you can only imagine having a baby and not having food, not having running water. The toughest, um, the most tough area, what affected us as survivors, is to look for survivors. We had to run the whole country. Everywhere you knew that you had relatives, you have to go. You had to, and there was no public transportation, so we have to take rides from military uh, cars, basically, because that's the only thing which was around, to go look for your parent place. We wanted at least to make sure that nobody has survived, and we wanted to make sure that if at least if we can find their bodies and bury them. So that's what we did for the few months after the genocide. We were cleaning up, burying people in mass graves, identifying bodies, trying to run in orphanages to see if there's any child who could have survived among my nieces and nephews. That's what we did. We were just running around, like, did not know what to do. Um, and it was really very tough, because now you coming back to life where you feel you don't even want to live. And I remember at the beginning we had a place in town where all survivors will meet and talk about our stories and share our stories and support each other, and even ask ourselves who is left, who is gone. And some of the people we did not even know if they were still alive, and they would hear rumors and say, oh, I heard that so and so child is in the western of the country. We will go to look for them, and in the end we find out that they are not there. So it was the most chaotic situation to live in.
And what does an experience like that do to your faith? Were you religious before that experience, and how did that change after the genocide?
Oh, it changed a lot. We have both sides in Rwanda. We have people who ran away from God after the experience, and we had people who came to God from the experience. So in my situation, I grew up in a Roman Catholic household. My mom was very, very active in the church. I have lost my faith even in the genocide itself, because my parents and were my young sisters who were at home at my parents' place, took refuge in the local church, in the local Catholic Roman Catholic Church, and people who came to care, some of them were clergies of the church, and people who served with my mom in the same church. So and then they turn around, they killed the members of the church. So already I had already, and when we came back from the refugee camps, they were blood. Every church had become a grave. Blood, because most of the Tutsis were killed in the church. So I had already, my faith was pretty much shaken up. I turned away from God. I said, if He was the omnipotent and omnipresent, and with the power that we say He has, where was He when my people were being killed, were being butchered? Why did He not intervene? So I had a lot of anger. And I think any traumatic event will make you have that kind of resentment about God. But then it was until, oh, but going back a little bit, in when they said they were coming to kill us, we were not we did not know much about the Bible, really. We would just read the stories, especially the stories of Moses and Joseph. They were just good stories for me to read. So I knew the Bible just by reading those stories, and I felt they were fascinating. So we had Bibles, but did not read Bibles. So when they said they are coming to kill us, we prayed, and then your dad and my cousin said they don't want to die in the house, so they went in the backyard. So when they are in the backyard, I opened the Bible, and my eyes, just randomly, my eyes landed on Psalm 27, where the Bible says, I have put all your enemies under your feet. Do not worry. Like, fear not. Like, all the words I needed to hear in that moment. And I actually felt that I was not going to die. At that moment, I said, I'm not going to die, and I refuse to die. I refuse death. Because before I had accepted the death. But then I said, no, from this world, it's a sign that I'm not going to die. I even opened the window and talked to your dad in the backyard, and I said, hey, guess what? We're not going to die. He's like, how do you know? I'm like, I just read it in the Bible. He's like, well, if we have to die, let's die with dignity. Don't go crazy. He felt I was losing my mind. So, but I confessed at that time. I said, God, if you think you are capable to save me from this, I will serve you for the rest of my life. I confessed that. But then guess what? With all the chaos and everything happened, I forgot about the confession I made up until in 1998. That's where I remembered. I said, oh my God, I promised. So then I started working. And at that time, I think the PTSD was hitting hard. I was having nightmares. I was having panic attacks. And I was having real troubles. And obviously, having you and your sister hormonal stuff mixed up with trauma, it wasn't helping out. So I would be crying a lot. I was having severe symptoms of trauma. So then I started searching. I said, God, I'm not gonna live my life like this. I have to find somehow, some way, a way of overcoming this pain. I do not want to live the rest of my life with the pain. So I started working on my faith without affiliating myself to any religion. But then in the end, I became born again, and I think God has touched me and has helped me through uh, the healing process, and my faith came back even much stronger than it was before.
At any point, did you ever feel the emotion of hate ever during that time period?
Sure. The tricky part with trauma, so when you have an infection in the body, you take antibiotics and the infection goes away. When you are healing from a wound, the wound always leaves a scar. So trauma is the same thing. You can learn how to live with your pain, but at the same time, the scar is always there. So when you hurt your scar, it's always more painful than it is when you hurt the other area of your body. So the triggers are always there. So it takes just a simple thing to trigger you and takes you back. I'm gonna give you an example. In 2014, I felt I was healed. I was doing so well. I'm helping survivors to overcome the pain and live, knowing how to live with the pain. But then all of a sudden, we are told that they have found my dad's remains. They have found his body after 20 years when we felt we had buried him. So without my knowledge or me triggering it, just subconsciously, the whole emotions I had in the genocide came back like instantly, like live, like as if it was happening. The hate, the confusion, the everything, that the raw emotions that you felt you overcome come back instantly. So that's the whole situation with survivors. You live in a paradox. You have a high level of resilience, but also you are vulnerable. Usually those two things don't coexist. But at the same time, that's our lives. You try to hear, you try to do well, and try to put your step one foot after the other, but all of a sudden something comes back and triggers you. You're remembered of your people who did not survive. You are remembered that you, like, the triggers are constant and are comes in different ways. But at the same time, when you are aware of your triggers, you learn how to deal with them before they put you down.
And if there's one message you'd want to leave people with, what would it be?
um I always give a message to my fellow survivors because I know most of them are still in such raw pain. They haven't moved an inch from 1994. Basically, they have 25 years lost in between. Because for them, they don't even want to have a normal life no longer. They fear, and that's part of the loss and grief process. You don't want to go back to normal because you fear you don't even deserve it. So the word I always give my from my profession as a psychotherapist, but also from my personal life and my personal experience, I would say there's one quote that I like from one guy who is a Buddhist, and he's a writer. He said that pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. So, what I can tell my fellow survivors is that we're not going to change the past, we're not going to change the history, but we can shape the life we are in today and the future. Continue to live with pain and live a miserable life. It actually benefits those who want to exterminate us, but it doesn't help us in any ways. And I do believe, I truly believe that we all have inner strength that we can tap in to overcome the situation. We don't have to be debilitated by the trauma. We can overcome, and we can live a better life.